Hello everyone, welcome again to Pluralsight Spotlight. I'm your host this morning, Adam Gunn. If you're new to this series, let me set the table for this episode. Our Spotlight series is a chance to meet some of the incredible people that differentiate the Pluralsight platform. Our brand is built on the back of incredible authors who bring the best of themselves to every course they create. I'm excited to be sitting down with Wilvie Añora today, who has come all the way from the Philippines to Salt Lake City. Wilvie is the co-founder as well as strategy lead at AtoANI, a sustainable agriculture company. She is passionate about social innovation and using it to contribute to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. With a chemical engineering and MBA degree, she has a wealth of experience across multiple topics, from strategy to project management and a lot in between. Welcome to the Spotlight, Wilvie.
Hi, Adam. Nice to be here in this beautiful city. Actually, I really like the mountains.
Yeah.
Because it's not any time that you have it here in the Philippines, like the snow and those things.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about being a technologist in the Philippines. Like, what's a day in the life of Wilvie?
Yeah, actually, because more of like juggling a few things, right? So if you're starting a social venture kinds of not really, it's for profit, but at the same time, you have to do some kind of social impact to the community that you want to do. Like, for instance, the agriculture industry. So it's like talking with developers and what you want in terms of the solution, this agritech solution. And at the same time, because my passion is also to teach, so talking with or teaching the business students about how they wanted to build their own businesses in the future. And also a bit of like using business analytics, for instance, to build those businesses. So around that.
Yeah. And how did you get your career on this track? Like, explain to the audience how Wilvie got here.
So you mentioned about chemical engineering. So I just thought that, okay, engineering, not mechanical, that's like for boys and all. So perhaps chemical engineering, take it in. And then I went on to work for Procter & Gamble. I think it's an American company. In that area, like chemistry, so quality assurance. And then after that, well, I wanted to kind of try the non-technical route in chemical engineering. So I took up MBA and then I went on to work for Lufthansa, like a German company, aviation. And here, I kind of get to know about innovation. So we've started an innovation program in the Lufthansa Technic Philippines. It's not the one in Germany, but in the Philippines, innovation programs. So I get to work with the IT people. So we're more of the business end of the technology. Like it's between the link between the functional areas and also the IT people, because sometimes there's a problem in communication in those two areas. So that's it. That's why I started technology.
Yeah. So you bridge technology and business strategy, right?
Yes, definitely. What the functional areas want, because sometimes the IT people, it's kind of difficult to discuss with these functional areas. But at the same time, you need to have a background of understanding what their language is, what the language of these functional areas are. So kind of that. That's how it started.
That's fascinating. Who were some of your role models early on?
Well, I guess in terms of role models, well, there's Mahatma Gandhi, all those ones that are altruistic nature, wanting to help the oppressed, and also at the same time in terms of technology, I guess it would be Elon Musk, simply because of course it's radical, and if he wanted to change something, it's like he can really change something. So basically those.
Do you like what he's doing at Twitter?
No comment about that. But I guess he has a thing with execution. So yeah, I think that's what I admire about him.
Yeah. Let's talk about getting your career on this kind of sustainability path. Why have you gravitated towards the company that you're working for now and these passions around sustainability?
Yeah. So actually, it was during the pandemic that you kind of have a realization that you wanted to do something, like, because I was working for a company back then. I mentioned about Lufthansa Innovation, and I wanted to do something different. So during the pandemic, I kind of think, I wanted to resign from my corporate job, take on this social venture because I've been wanting to do it. I just don't have the time to do it. That's why I take that on agriculture is very much in our country, but it has a lot of problems. It's unusual. We're an agriculture country, but there's a lot of problems. So I want to take that in with the technology, I guess, and the innovation background that I have to use that for social impact. So
Cool. And you mentioned you love teaching. Like that's a passion. So I imagine that's what has brought you in line with Pluralsight.
Yeah.
Give the audience a sense for how you've found your way to creating courses on Pluralsight.
Yeah. Actually, there's I mentioned about teaching, right? So I kind of have it in the internet only because in our case, Philippines, like there's no Pluralsight office there. So I just kind of have a check in the internet about it, and you're creating amazing like courses, and it's aligned with technology at the same time. So I say, perhaps I'll try. I don't know if I will get in, but at least it's closer to what I wanted to teach, right? So
okay. And how long have you been authoring courses for Pluralsight?
Or actually, I just started during the pandemic because it's part as well of the realization that I had working for a corporate. I wanted to do something else, this social venture, teaching, and all. So it was like late 2020, around that time.
Okay. And how many courses do you have?
Currently, I have 10 published. I'm working on 2 and upcoming, I guess, other 2 right now.
Okay, exciting. And give the audience a sense of like what differentiates a Wilvie course. Why should they seek you out, and what would they be focused on?
Yeah, I guess what I will bring into the courses that I have, it's more of like I'm introducing as well the experience that I have, but it's more of a business sense around it. No, I'm not so much into the technical stuff, but I bring in a bit of how it is like a bigger picture. Let's say, for example, you're using a tool, but then why are you using such tool? Generally, for instance, data. I'm more into data. So you're using data to make business decisions. So when I create case studies, it would be around these business decisions, around how it would be helpful to the different functional areas. So
everyone's talking about Chat GPT right now. And I imagine there are engineers and developers and technical roles that have exciting ideas that they want to bring to market. But convincing the business to prioritize those, mitigate risk. I assume that's where the bridge comes into that MBA business acumen that's so critical. Is that a good example of where people might lean into your learning?
Yes, definitely. Because sometimes people are too focused on the technology. Even when, like, for instance, we're doing a social venture, when we think about solutions like this agritech solution, agriculture, what we do is, I think everybody knows about design thinking. So you really have to understand the customer. And our customers are, say, the farmers or the B2B or hotels and restaurants. So what do they need? They need to hear out what they need. And sometimes technologists, I'm not saying it's a general thing, right? But sometimes you're too focused on the technology. You forget about what they really need. Perhaps it might not be too complicated. It might just be simple, right? So you just have to listen to that voice of the customer and align that with what is capable with the technology that you currently have. So I guess that's very critical.
Are there any simple words of advice you could give to people in technical roles who might be struggling to do this and put this into practice?
The one that I mentioned about incorporating more of a bigger picture sense of it. So I guess it's more really, part of that is reading and immersing yourself. So for instance, sometimes IT people, what I usually have them is they're just there in their room, they're focused on, of course, learning more, improving about their skills. But at the same time, I think it would be good if they kind of go out to that and understand like how their technology that they're creating. For instance, during my innovation time back in Lufthansa, so what we do is they're just there. We provide the voice of the functional areas. But what could have been is that they should have like gone out and look into these functional areas and kind of immerse themselves, right? So that they understand, they're kind of motivated that, hey, this is the technology that I'm creating. And this is how it is impacting these people. Like in the same case with the social venture that we're starting, if they understand that this is how the technology that they're creating is impacting the farmers and all the other areas in the supply chain, then they might be a bit more motivated and they would understand better.
So Wilvie, your latest course on the Pluralsight platform is on the essentials of artificial intelligence for IT operations. What's something in that course that is really unique and worth highlighting?
Time is a resource. If you kind of look at it in business, it's a resource. You can't have all day to just do this manual thing. So you need to take advantage of artificial intelligence with the IT operations that sometimes are too repetitive and manual, and take advantage of automations in there. But at the same time, like for instance, if you're thinking about potential problems, with the help of artificial intelligence, it can help you identify the problems even if they have not occurred yet, right? Because you've used data from previous or past. Right? So that's how you can leverage artificial intelligence with the different functional areas that you may have. So even if you're not an IT person, like if you have kind of check on this course, you will understand. Say you're a CIO or perhaps you're one of the managers of functional areas. You may say, hey, IT first, can you introduce like artificial intelligence to these area because we want it to be more efficient and save on costs. So those things.
Yeah. That's incredible. Are there some specific examples where companies are doing this really well that you might reference?
Yeah, because typically, in most IT functional areas like ticketing system, you can kind of automate it. You don't have to have a help desk. You like kind of answer all the questions. For example, typical password resets and all those things. And it happens, especially if you're kind of starting out. But of course, you don't want to invest in artificial intelligence because you might think that it's expensive. But I guess what companies need to do is to kind of look at the cost and benefit analysis of it. Yes, you're spending for AI for some of these things, upfront costs and all, but in the long run, it would be really beneficial because manpower cost is increasing, right? So I guess this is where companies can leverage on it, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel bad. Like I think about like application management and having to request access to a new application. And like it's taking a human away from something probably a lot more valuable than assigning me a license. Like if that could be automated, it would seem like, sure, it's taking a part of a human's job, but if that human can then go do more critical things, that would be a good application, right?
Yeah, and I think what's more the critical things that we're talking about are decisions, like how to troubleshoot. Of course, AI can help you with understanding what are the most common problems, but the taking away that repetitive task that may not be motivating enough, right?
Yeah.
So taking that time off to that repetitive task to more decision-making style, troubleshooting, aside from, well, it's more valuable in terms of doing it, it's more motivating for the technologist.
Love that. And since we're talking about time and efficiency, we recently did a state of upskilling report with learners and leaders at outside of Pluralsight customers. And one of the interesting insights was finding time, making time to learn is a challenge within organizations and in our individual lives. I'm curious if you have any advice or thoughts on making time to learn.
Yeah, actually, what they were thinking, like, well, I was working in corporate, right? Like, time, like 5 days is too much. Okay, too much kind of taking out, learning 5 days on a particular, let's say, every 2 months is too much, right? Because you have operations to take onto. But if you think about it, that investment on learning, upskilling will do a lot in the long run. Because say, for example, you have area technologies, you're not upskilled in this particular area, but you need to. But you mentioned that, I don't have that time to do it. But if you did, even just, let's say, 2 hours a day, it would do a lot to improve your skills, knowing these technologies. Let's say using artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So if you're manual, more manual in these things, and if you taken that course on artificial intelligence, you understand, oh, okay, this is where I can apply it. So it would save you time in the long run.
The idea of like applying automation, free up time, use that time to learn.
Yes.
And then it's like a flywheel. You can actually innovate faster and more efficiently. Wilvie, I'm curious, like, what are you investing your learning time in right now?
So what I'm learning right now, or what I'm spending my time learning on, is because I'm creating my dissertation right now. I'm taking up PhD. and it's more about sustainable innovation, the sustainable development goals. So the title or what it's trying to address is helping the small and medium businesses to actually integrate sustainable development goals in their areas, because I feel that it's kind of lacking. Sometimes I know business is for profit, but at the same time, you can somehow incorporate a bit of social impact to it. Yeah, that's why I'm very passionate about, you mentioned about social innovation and sustainability.
That's awesome. Well, before you go, I've got a list of fun questions from my team that we just like to ask these incredible authors. So if you're game.
Yeah, I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid. Okay, a little afraid. This first one always gets people. If you could switch legs with any animal, which would it be?
Legs? I wanted to fly actually. So legs, let's say the giraffe.
Okay. We've asked this question enough. It seems like there's a group that love cheetahs. They want to go fast.
Yeah, that one.
And then there's a group that wants giraffes to be tall and to take longer strides, I guess. Do you have a favorite documentary?
Kiss the Ground. It's about agriculture, and I mentioned about sustainable. I don't know. It's not super tech, but it's kind of saying that you bring back the carbon to the soil, and it's with regenerative agriculture, and it's so simple to do, but sometimes because there's like a lot of things about fertilizers and all, you kind of tend to forget about it. Like, it's bringing back the carbon to the soil, so it's helping the climate change,
yeah,
right? So there's a lot of technologies about carbon, but that's a simple one to do.
Nice. Do you have a secret talent?
Oh no, I don't want to say secret talent because you might ask me to sing or dance and all. No, I don't have a secret talent.
No, it's not karaoke.
Actually, because that's a Filipino, I would say I love to sing, but don't ask me to sing.
I will not ask you to sing.
Yeah, we love to sing in the Philippines. Like, it's our favorite pastime. It's kind of taking the stress away from all the stresses that we have at work. So.
Amazing. Favorite pizza topping?
Oh, I think it would be like Hawaiian because there's a pineapple and also there's a bit of a meat there. So.
Okay, yeah. Pineapple on pizza is very controversial.
Yeah, I know. But in our case, like, we usually like it because there's a bit of salty and also, sweet.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Subject? I guess, let's say math because it's more standard. Let's say if you say English and so good at it, so just math.
Okay. This is a standard Pluralsight question, very opinionated, but are you on team cat or team dog?
I think I'm team dog.
Okay. You can be team plant too.
Yes, I'm more of if you compare dog and plant, I would be more team plant.
Okay. Yeah, we're finding a lot of people join team plant, which is okay too. And if you were a flavor of ice cream, what would Wilvie be?
Well, I say pistachio because that's my favorite flavor of ice cream. So pistachio, because it's kind of different. Nice.
Well, Wilvie, thanks so much for joining us today in the Pluralsight Spotlight. Really appreciated having you, and we look forward to learning more from you in the future on the Pluralsight platform. Yeah, thank you so much, Adam, for having me here. It's a pleasure. That was great. To our audience, want to thank you for joining as well. As always, we'll put links to some of Wilvie's latest courses in the show notes, and we hope you'll join us again for a future episode of Pluralsight Spotlight. Thank you.